Got it.
Boom. We're
Whoa.
back. Pete,
Whoa.
this is a big one. We are entering Milford, episode 20.
That is true. I didn't even think about that. Episode 20. It's a
So 20.
milestone.
Reverse that
Congratulations.
case.
So there you go, Case. We're entering Milford. I'm the host for the evening, Mike Colelli. My pleasure. Great to see everyone as always. Joining me, my numero uno, Pete DeLuca, quadruple boom of the week. Pete, how are we, buddy?
4-time boom of the week. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I'm impressed with myself. Nice to see you, Mike.
Yeah, you too. Quadruple. I got that. I said 4 times.
right,
Next to Pete, best voice of the pod, Steve. How are we, buddy?
Mike, great to be back again. As Pete says, greatest night of the week.
Greatest night of the
Tuesday
week.
nights.
Yeah.
And on top of the board, on top of the leaderboard, he's got another bye next week. So good for him. Case, how we doing, buddy?
Feeling good. I was right about all my picks this week, including Pete booming.
Did you go 5-0?
Wait a minute.
No.
Yeah, we'll
Wait
get
a
into
minute,
that a
you
little
picked
bit.
me.
We'll
Get
get
into
into
the
that.
recap.
We'll get into that a little bit further.
You picked a
There's a
terrible. You picked
loophole
Colelli
that,
to
there's a loophole that
picked
pick.
me to boom.
Yeah.
All right,
Big
guys, we got
Big
9
letdown.
weeks in the book. I did not do the historical research. I think the log jam that we currently have fighting for the playoffs in this league is awesome. Everybody's in it except Lloyd now, even definitely Lloyd and likely Jadarian, but everybody's in it. We're all log jam somewhere around 1 to 2 games over or under 500, and we still have like 6 regular season weeks left. So let's just say exciting season. But I want to go to Pete first. Boom, number 4. You are now tied for the most booms in one season with yours truly. So one more. Here we go. We kind of came at you last week saying no chance was your game going to get the boom. We'll obviously go through it in the recap, but congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would love to go over this in the recap.
I was very modest. I'm surprised you were that modest in your response. And the other big
What
move
else
of
is
the
there to
week,
say, Mike?
the other big mover and shaker, Case is now 2 games up on the league. Case 8-1. You have the clear path to $500. Does that make you nervous?
No, I think we'll get to in the recap, but I think what we proved is that there's another man on this pod that we found this week is just a pretender.
Who?
Divitto.
Wow. Interestingly enough, I mean,
He
the guy-
just pulled off a season-changing trade right there.
Case, nice take, Brian. Speaking of a guy who's apparently, according to Case, tanking, even though he just made a trade with 3 first-round picks involved. Steve, this is the big news of the week before we get into the recap. So we've got a big trade. We've got Brandon Ayuk and Odell Beckham going out, along with 3 first-round draft picks.
Oh,
A lot of pressure.
Mike, you had the swear. Why'd you swear?
Freudian slip.
Now I gotta bleep that out.
All right, that's only like 6 minutes in. That was my fault. Coming in to the Bungles locker room, George Kittle and DJ Moore. Before I get reactions, you know my favorite thing is just understanding how these things go down. Take us there. I'm sure it wasn't a single text trade. How did you get these guys? Lloyd's been saying for weeks he's not going to trade them, and then just walk us through how it happened.
So when the first announcement of me potentially tanking came into play, I had told you guys right after that trade that I wasn't going to be done, that I was planning on trying to do some other things. And I have been talking to Lloyd literally since probably week 4 or 5, every week asking him the same question about Kittle, trying to get a trade. And this afternoon, actually, he sent me a text and said, I'm ready to talk. So we negotiated, we talked, and we got a deal done right before I sat down for dinner.
So how did you work out the pieces, though?
So I had sent him pretty much this same offer a couple of weeks ago, and he said he was going to sit on it. Said he wanted to think about it. The players had changed a little bit. The picks really hadn't changed. I had offered him 3 first-round picks. I told him that stood. Earlier today, we had discussed potentially taking out a long story short, the trade itself, the offer really never changed. It was just a potential player or 2 here or there that was kind of coming in or out, and we settled on the trade that we made today.
Were you always sending Ayuk and Beckham with all the picks, or were there other guys and other pieces that Lloyd was more interested in?
No, like I said, the players were moving around a little bit, but we settled on Ayuk and Odell. I will say Ayuk was involved. Ayuk was the one involved throughout, because if I was going to get Kittle back, I didn't want to have two 49ers on the team. I wanted to split that up. And then Odell was in there. A couple other players were potentially moved in. I took a player out at the end of the deal, and then just worked out that way.
Who'd you take out?
Don't worry about it.
All right, Pete, you said, hold on, Case, I'm going to end it with you because I already know Pete's take. You said boring was your reaction to the trade.
Well, I think it's a good trade for Steve. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I do think that the names, I mean, if Beckham lands someplace that's great, I think that changes it a lot. I think Steve is smart to gamble on that and gamble that he might land in a bad position. So it's smart. I wanted to ask Steve a question though. Steve, why'd you give up on the 23 draft? I remember earlier in the season, you were like really in on it. Why give away all the picks?
So if I'm going to turn around and make some type of deal, I've got to talk those picks up eventually. So, like you had mentioned before, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, that's a wasted draft. Why am I going to get these picks? Yeah, it's useless. Of course, I'm going to talk those picks up, try and use them and turn them around. I told you guys when I made the deal that I was fully planning on trying to turn those picks around and get something else.
So wait, you
I'm
really
not
don't like
sit
the
here
20-
and say they're useless.
Yeah, you're my draft expert.
This draft this year, I'm not high on. The 23 draft does have a couple of more other prospects, but to make a trade,
you don't have the picks though.
But you're leading us all on
to make a trade to get someone like DJ Moore, who's a young, really good number one wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with trading two of those picks.
So
Still have my first round pick in that draft.
But my question is, were you really hyped on that draft, or no? You're just playing us all?
I like that draft more than I like this draft.
Gotcha.
But I was definitely talking those picks up with the idea of trying to turn them around.
Come on, you can't honestly think that we're supposed to believe that. You were
You don't have to believe it. That's perfectly fine.
You were over 3 in the time. You're trying to rationalize why you traded away your two best players.
No, because I said from the beginning. Okay, listen, no matter what I say, you're going to tell me I'm wrong, and that's fine.
This is like the D-Hop.
This is what you do.
Thursday.
No, this is what you do. This is exactly what you do. In order to make your point, you try and talk down other people's points. And I'm telling you that when I made the deal, I originally said I was fully intending on turning them around and making other deals. I said that from the beginning. So whether or not you say, oh, you're not really thinking, it's exactly what I was thinking from the first step. Go back and listen to the other pods. It's what I said, and I'm sticking to it, and I made a trade.
So if I can be an impartial moderator, you did say that. You also, though, said to Pete's point that you really liked the 23 draft as well. So you did kind of say both things.
Yes, and I'm explaining to you my rationale for it.
So you're telling us you went Johnny Chan, bluff the board on the 23. But that's what you're saying. Just it's okay if that's what you're saying.
I just said that. I just said that. I was talking it up. So
just say it so we call you a liar.
I don't know what I can believe anymore. Steve, I have one more question we can go on. Did you delay your family dinner to get the trade done?
I did.
That is an attaboy. That's what I'm talking about.
I did. I definitely did.
So I did another thing when the trade came out, because I was like, we can't be the only ones who have an opinion. So I texted the other 5 guys in the league. I didn't text Lloyd. Obviously, Lloyd's gonna like Lloyd's side. I didn't text you guys. Everybody but one person replied to my text. Any guess on who didn't reply to my text?
Divitto.
I think we already know the answer to this. We talked about it in pre-production.
You're wrong, Pete. Divitto replied.
Wow. Good for you, Andy.
To Darren.
Mike,
you
mustard bowl.
Mike was upset that I've already spoken to this other.
I don't think Pete was in the call. Oh, you might have been. All right. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to give you the take. I want you to tell me who had the take. Okay. I'll go first. Ready? This one is going to be easy. So my text that I sent to everybody was very straightforward. What's your take on the Divitto Lloyd trade? Question mark, question mark. You know me, I'm a 2 question mark kind of guy.
That's urgency.
Here's one reply. I'm thrilled. Now Divitto won't offer me relentlessly 2 trades a day.
Andy
Divitto.
I'm thrilled.
It's tough. It's tough for him to think that way, especially when he doesn't participate. So
Takes
yeah,
it
still
I'm
don't
glad
know.
very
it's happening.
personally. Very
I
personally.
still don't know. He never gave me an opinion. He asked what time we started to record the pod. I'm like 9:30. I was like, "Do you want to join?" He's like, "I'm at work. I can't." It feels like he wants to join in December. I'm just saying, he put it out there for me.
Great.
Andy and I texted back and forth yesterday for a good 2 hours. And I said to him, I actually stopped our negotiations. It was like, hey, by the way, this is the most we've conversed in like the last couple of years. This is great.
Going.
He said, "Thanks, Breen. Thanks, Breen. You too."
He's got him as a different guy.
So Breen must have been the guy that didn't respond, right?
No, Darian didn't respond.
Christian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the whole thing.
All right, here's the next one. And this
Pay
one,
attention, Pete.
this one will have a point. And then let me just see if you can guess who it is when I say there's a point with 6 subpoints.
Ooh.
Wow.
Who do you think would send a point and then have 6 subpoints?
Innes. That's the way he texts.
Dennis.
Yeah.
Lloyd bent Divitto over and showed him the 50 Spates. That's the headline. We changing our guesses?
No.
That's Ennis.
That's Innes.
That's study.
Number 1, Divitto isn't that good. Number 2, Kittle's a tight end, so who cares? He's going to get hurt anyway. Number 3, Lloyd got 3 firsts. Number 4, Lloyd got really nice upside player in Ayuk. Number 5, Moore is very good, not an elite player, shaky quarterback. Number 6, good flyer on Odell. That's Innes's take on it. Counter to your take, Pete. Do you see the merits in Innes's points?
No.
Thanks,
Nice,
Christian.
nice response, Christian.
The
Thanks,
only
Christian.
thing I will say to Innes's point, that
I don't.
like for
He got
Lloyd-
DJ Moore. When you get the best player in the deal, that you win the deal. You got DJ Moore. I don't care about the picks. The picks can do whatever. Who cares? 23. Lloyd's gonna trade him away 7 times by now. Sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I do think that Steve won the trade.
All I'm going to say for Lloyd's sake is that he has 6 first-round picks, so he's got capital that he could turn him around with. And for someone like Lloyd, who's trying to build, it gives him something to potentially either use in a trade or draft hopefully some decent guys like he did this year with Jamar Chase.
Yeah, well, you're not gonna hit Chase every single year, so he
Right.
better take. He's got 6 picks. Have fun with Labiska Chenault.
All right, so we got 2 other guys. We got 2 other guys who we haven't heard from.
Awful.
I'm gonna read you both takes. We'll do take number 1 and take number 2. We'll see if you guys can clean.
Process of elimination here.
Those 2 guys left, Spates and Breen. They both
That's what I'm
replied to me very quickly, by the way. Way to go, Kevin. Buddy. Spates will always reply to me quickly. I even wrote to him. I think I put hashtag Team Spares, and he loved it.
Spates will
Yeah, he
reply
won
to
this-
you.
he won this
Christian
week. He'll
replies to
communicate.
me.
No, but it's not even about winning or not winning. He replies to me all the time. I'm Team Spates. I backed his team all season.
He talks a lot to me. Yeah.
I have a lot of the details under it. I'm just going to go headline. Okay. Here's number 1. It's a decent deal for Lloyd to get all those picks. Divitto pick is lottery, but the other ones probably not. That's take number 1.
Divitto.
Take number 2 is I like it for Divitto. He doesn't like first round picks and it helps his team now.
The second one is
Breen
Breen.
is first. Breen's the first one.
Pete, who's first?
DJ
Breen?
Bears is second.
TJ.
I think I agree with DeVito. Breen's second. Spates
Yeah.
is first.
Spates was the first thing,
Yeah.
and Breen was the second thing.
Wrong. Breen's the first thing.
Wow.
So
Kate.
say the first one again.
So Breen, I'll give you the full context. Breen said it's a decent deal for Lloyd to get all those picks. DeVito's pick is
He's-
a lottery one. The others probably are not. I don't like Kittle much, but I do like Moore. I think DeVito overpaid a little bit, but it's interesting to see him making moves to get in. That was
Yeah.
Kevin's full take.
It's not that it's not. So I think it's a great trade for DeVito, but DeVito, just respectfully, you're in 7th place. Are you like, you sit on a podcast twice a week with the 3 of us and we're in top 3 and we talk about how great we are. Like, do you really think like this is going to be a game change? No, I don't want no disrespect, but do you think that this is going to be a game changing thing that's going to like push you up? Not only do you have to get,
I feel like that's from a movie. Isn't that
Well,
from a movie? No
there's
disrespect,
seven-
no disrespect, but no disrespect, no disrespect.
there's 7 guys that are going to win it. And I think DeVito's 7th out of that. You know what I mean? So like,
Steve, not yet. Steve, not yet. Steve, not yet. Case, go ahead.
No disrespect, but I'm about to offend your team. No, actually, I have a good point, Pete. Like, Steve, follow-up question. Do you feel pressure as part of the pod to try to create a better team so you feel like you're an equal on that?
That's a
Everyone
good
wants to
question.
know what's going on with Steve.
Can I finish
Third-
Spates?
Third question. Are you offended by Pete saying no offense?
Hold on.
Let me finish Spates' point, then Steve,
Way
we'll let
too
you
many
get back to the tip.
questions.
So here's what Spates' full point was.
Need a bigger production.
I like it for DeVito. He hates first round picks and it helps his team now. Good point, Spates.
Yeah.
Lloyd, this is Spates' point. Lloyd doesn't understand the gamble of first round picks. Thinks 6 in the next 2 years will all turn into Jamar Chase.
Perfect.
Valid point.
I agree with CJ a lot more than I realized. Like this past couple of weeks have been, he's pretty spot on.
Isn't that from a movie though? When they're like, no disrespect, and then they just keep disrespecting you. That's like
Correct.
that thing when you're like, not to be a jerk, but I feel like that's a classic DeLuca movie.
I don't mean to
It's a
insult
classic
you, but-
disclaimer. Classic disclaimer.
No,
Classic.
honestly, I don't mean any disrespect. The kid's a great team. I just don't understand. Like, I don't know.
So if it's anything, I'm actually on Team DeVito on this one. I thought it was a good trade. I don't mind trading all the picks.
I agree.
Why wouldn't you? Like,
I,
what to me, if I'm DeVito, what's the alternative? Steve, go ahead. I don't want to keep talking for you. What's
I was
the
gonna say, am
alternative?
I allowed to answer the 5 questions that were just?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to. Number one,
Did I mute him?
Casey, take it away. Go.
being on the pod, I don't care if I'm 4th out of the 4 of us on the pod. That plays absolutely no.
You're like 7.
I could not care less. What?
I don't believe you. Keep going.
Yeah.
That's fine. You don't have to.
Got the pride, man.
Hey, do you believe
Number
him?
2, we
Hey,
talk
do you
about
believe
this
him?
a
No,
lot. We talk about this a lot on the pod. We've talked about keepers, and Pete, you talked about this last week that LaVisca is a potential keeper for you. I was looking at my roster, looking at the potential of getting a DJ Moore and a Kittle, and those are 2 definite keepers. Odell Beckham Jr. is not. I don't care as much about the picks in 2 years. I wanted to take those picks and turn them around. I've said that. Now I paid the first round pick this upcoming year, which I don't think is a deep draft. In return, I got DJ Moore. So that was my reasoning for that.
Steve, do you worry? I have good intel and authority that the 2023 draft, though, is pretty good. Do you worry you gave up too early on those picks?
No, not at all, Mike.
Uh,
Keep
What would
going
week
back to the
3
same
Steve
points.
say?
Good idea. We'll
Go ahead,
keep
Pete.
replaying the points.
No disrespect. Pete, go
All
ahead.
right, so no disrespect, but you made a really bet now. After this week, starting 3 tight ends, I figured you'd be off at tight ends completely.
Whoa, good point.
Why trade for Kittle?
Sure. No, I get that, but we talk about this a lot. It's all about targets.
Yeah.
And Kittle and Waller see a ginormous amount of targets. They're essentially like wide receivers for their teams.
Okay.
So
Follow-up question, Steve. Do you see a lineup where you would start all 4 tight ends? And do you want Dalton Schultz for a 5th?
moving on.
Wait, do you think you'd start
Stupid
4 tight
question.
ends? Do you think you'd start 4 tight ends?
No,
Not unless there's like heavy buys. He's past it.
no.
Yeah.
I'm done. It's gone.
I
I said this.
I'll-
I talked to Case about this earlier today, and I already told him this. I picked up those guys because Gesicki was a target
Gesicki.
hog for
Gesicki.
whatever he is. Was a target hog for Tua. Then I played him
Oh yeah, then Tua got hurt.
during the bye weeks. Tua's hurt. I'm all set with him now. And Goddard was another guy that was a bye week filler, but Jalen Hurts.
Oh
is
yeah, he stunk
horrible.
too. Oh yeah.
So
I will,
they played they're done.
I will follow up DeVito's point by saying this phone conversation did happen. We did converse about the trade. He asked me what I thought, and I will give my genuine thoughts on this if the pod would like to hear it.
Sure.
Do I have a choice? Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
you-
if we say no, would you not say it?
He can still say it.
we can move on.
Go ahead, Case.
Go ahead.
Last
No,
point.
I actually told DeVito, like, I actually think that Lloyd may have pulled a trigger on this with the hope that OBJ becomes a Patriot and it gives him another homer to root for, because he does have Mac Jones for some reason still. So I think that's an element for it and probably what got him to do it. I think if Kittle stays healthy, it's great. I think Moore's value has been hurt over the last couple of weeks with quarterback play. I think it makes sense for both teams. I just don't know if it's enough for Steve this year to warrant giving away, all those picks, but it gives him a chance maybe. But I think it made all the sense in the world for Lloyd to do it. Like those guys aren't good enough to say, hey, I'm going to build around these two guys moving forward. So why the heck not if I was Lloyd? So I think both guys' agendas make sense. That's how I try to evaluate trades. Like, does it make sense for either team? So
I also think we can agree that, and Pete said this, in fantasy football, it's not about history. It's about trying to get as solid of players in your starting lineup as you can. And I'm a game out of a playoff spot. And at any point, in the words of CGD, could go on a run. And I also like the idea that Moore is a young guy, Kittle is a keeper. So I think it was a win-win both for this year, potentially maybe trying to get in and moving on as a keeper as well.
You know what they say, Steve? It's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmys and the Joes.
You know what's interesting about what's his face is
Wait, who's what's his face?
DJ Moore. He got drafted in 2018. His quarterback since then have been Cam Newton, who's terrible, Tyler Henke, who played one game, and Kyle Allen, right? He had Will Greer, Teddy Bridgewater, PJ Walker, and Sam Darnold. He's pretty used to not having a good quarterback.
Yeah.
So
I think Bridgewater's a serviceable quarterback when he stays healthy. Like he's giving some value to those Denver guys now when he plays.
Sure,
you know?
but I don't think that actually PJ Walker is kind of a baller. So I mean, it might turn into a fantasy gold mine, but I wouldn't have gone away from it because of that. But so,
All right, well, we'll see. If nothing else, we always love the activity, Steve. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to Lloyd. He's continuing to stock up for the next couple of years on the rebuild. Agree with it, disagree with it, doesn't really make a difference. The guy's making some moves to make some decisions. So kudos, Lloyd. Way to go. Let's get into some recapping, Pedro. You ready to do your
finally the best part of the show
this week? There's not going to be some good. Let's hear it. Week 9 was week 9.
The best part of the show. If everyone at home's been waiting for it. All right, let's talk about week 9. The best player of the week was
James Conner
with
Did you play him?
45.33 points.
No.
It was the second time that KC has won Beast of the Week. He won it in week 2 with Derrick Henry, who scored 55 points. Shout out to Jonathan Taylor, who scored 42 points for Jeff, and Jeff actually started him, as opposed to Casey, who didn't start him.
Yeah.
For those of you counting at home, we've had 6 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 quarterback be the highest scoring of the league. So clearly wide receivers. The 2 running backs that won it were both on Casey's team. Longest play of the week goes to it's unbelievable.
Innis again, right?
Innis again.
Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor scored. He had a 78-yard run. So Debo won it 3 times. Taylor won it 3 times. That's 6 out of 9 weeks for Innis.
Wow, that is
It happened live on the pod.
Shout out to Chubb. He finished second. He had a 70-yard run against Cincy. Shout out to Patterson. He finished third with a 64-yard reception against the Saints. If we were playing that fake survivor game, it was Divitto against Innis. Divitto got outscored, so Innis would end up winning that 10-week experiment. Divitto, even though the game is fake, you still blew it. Lloyd was the lowest.
No offense
or anything, but you blew that one too. Lloyd was the lowest scoring team at 99 points. All right, let's talk about scoring. Our weekly average was 121. That's down 10 points from last week, and last week was the lowest week ever. So this one was by far the lowest week we've ever had. The season average dropped to 139. That's down from 143. So that's the biggest drop we've ever had. So this week was really, really an outlier as far as points go. We've had 9 weeks. We have 10 teams. That's 90 scores. Everybody that finished in the top 45, that's 50%. That is in order: Casey, Spates, and me. Casey is the only team that has been a top scoring team 2 weeks in a row. So keep that in mind. 6 of the 10 teams this week finished with scores in the bottom 20.
Yeah.
So it was a all-time bad number. So, and we look at that magic number. I'll lower it. The magic number to win, I always say, is 160, but I'll lower it seeing as I'm the only one that could score 160. So
not even this week.
But I still got closest.
Got the phone.
Cashing those banks, DeVito. 137 seems to be the big number now. If you can get to 137. 137
feels so low.
I know. 137, you have a 72% chance of winning. Okay. If you finish below that, the teams that have finished below that are 9 and 36. They have a 75% chance of losing. So it seems like 137 might be the magic number for winning and losing. Let's talk about the boom. It is my 4th boom of the season. other people can win this if you guys are interested in it. I don't know if anyone else is interested in it. 158.17 is the lowest boom. It was the previous low was Innis at 172. That was just last week. It was the 25th highest score of the year. So
Wow.
I'm not really proud of it, but make way for the king, baby. I'm back. I also looked into last year. It was the lowest boom in the history of the boom. So
Whoa.
that replaces Kaleli's 161 in week 8 of last year.
There we go, buddy.
Top scoring teams through 9 weeks in order from best to worst. Me, Casey, Jeff, Mike, and CJ, top 5 scoring teams. Top 5 easiest schedules through 9 weeks are in order: Casey, Steve, Mike, Breen, and CJ. So Casey, you've had the easiest schedule, 131 points your opponent's score. Steve, Casey, you're 130. Steve's 131. Mike, you're 134. And let's talk about with the hardest schedules. There are 2 real outliers.
Yeah.
I gotta say this. We all 8 of us, from Casey all the way down to Andy, have pretty much had the same exact opponents. The easy schedule. We all had easy schedules. The 2 outliers are Christian, whose team scores 40 points higher than Andy, who's the next highest, and Lloyd, whose team scored 20 points higher than Andy. So Christian and Lloyd have by far had the hardest schedules.
Well, they don't have to play themselves. That's what
That
helps.
is true. That is always the ultimate thing with that. The last thing on streaking, we have Casey's at 8, I'm at 3, and Christian is at 2. Don't sleep on Christian. He has won 2 in a row, but that will end this week. So,
All right. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Pete. This is not the preview pod.
and that's week 9.
So much humility and modesty in that reporting too.
No offense.
No offense to anybody. No offense.
No, definitely offense.
I think we have a podcast title. I
I don't think you said no offense though. Is it the? I don't think it was that. Whatever it was. All right, Pete. Thanks for the stats. Congratulations on the boom. Yeah, weird week in the NFL just in totality. Let's get to the game recaps though, Pete. So the game of the week this past week was the Battle of the Pods. I wouldn't call it an ugly one. I would call it a pretty one. It was a very average game. Case broke your 137 benchmark and beat Divitto. Final score was a tough 141-110 victory for the Jumbos. Pete, give us your thoughts. What did you think about the game of the week from game 9? Week 9.
Yeah, it was a 141-109 win for Casey, who makes it 8 in a row this season. The loss snaps a 4-game winning streak by Steve. So Steve, valiant effort, but we're back to square one. I picked Casey. That was before Divitto decided to get cute with 3 tight ends. So we already talked about that. We don't need to go into much detail about that. Casey, I want to know, did you ever consider starting James Conner or no?
James Conner was in my starting lineup until 12:40.
Oh.
And I made that that gut call, Mike, where I saw Dak coming back and Schultz actually scores pretty well with him. I just felt like I had a hole in those 2 spots. Like if Edmonds doesn't get hurt, who knows what Conner does.
Sure.
So like I don't regret the move. I just missed out on basically the boom essentially, but
cost yourself $50.
Yeah, that's okay. I won. So
I feel stupid after that game was over. I was like, well, there was no Kyler, no Hopkins. What did you think was going to happen? I probably should have been on that a little bit more, but
that and Pete, like San Francisco's defense against the run this year has been awesome. Like
really,
he just crushed them. Like that was the reason why I felt like I had to make a move. So maybe just too much deep dive.
Anyway, good win for Casey, who retains the top spot and is in the driver's seat for 500.
Yeah, way to go, Case. Let's go to Divitto a bit here. Steve, you had one of the worst things that could happen to your squad, which was a mediocre stack. Stafford, tough game. He didn't look great. Cobb ended up having a nice game. I mean, anytime you can get double digits, but both of them came in significantly under their score projections. So 2 questions. 1 is just on the team itself, how it went this week. And 2, was the performance on Sunday a harbinger for you wanting to make the move with Lloyd this week, or was it something that was just meant to be?
Well, my entire team scored 1 touchdown this week.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to win any games when your quarterback scores the only touchdown for your team. Stafford throws 1 touchdown in the 4th quarter. No chance of winning when it comes to that stuff. Moss getting hurt us.
Whoa, 4 hurts.
Double stack. I also made a couple of bonehead moves. Putting in Goddard instead of Kirk I was still unsure what was going to happen. So last minute, I decided to, but it's not going to make a difference in the world there. It's only an 11-point swing. So it wasn't like that was going to make it. My guys just didn't score. And that was the name of the game there.
So there was no optimal, like if you played your optimal, would you have won or no? It's just, this was a clear beating. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least there's
Well, I
that.
mean, if we both play our optimals, then Case wins because
Yeah.
James Conner with the 45 points would end up winning. I mean, if I end up with Ayuk and Kirk, I mean, Ayuk didn't have this type of game. He hasn't had this kind of game all year. He woke up. But I think that's also because they got down 30-6 and all they did was throw the ball. And like we had talked earlier in the week, Samuel's hurt. So it really hurt. But like I said, we didn't score touchdowns.
So you got Ennis, Spates, and Breen coming up. What do you think you're going to be after the next 3 weeks?
3-0, baby.
3-0?
Yeah.
2-1.
Yeah.
All right, that's confidence for you right there. He's in a good position this week. I know I said this to you guys over the podcast, but we'll say it to everybody who listens. He's a number 17 playing the 4, and you got the 5 and 6 playing one another. So Steve actually stands to gain a lot of ground if he wins this. So that's why I also think that the trade was a good idea at the time.
Cool week coming
Big
up.
week.
Case, last word for you because you won and you got a big pod victory. Did you worry at all going into that Sunday night game that there were points to be had, or did you never feel the pressure because you had a couple good early performances from the crew?
No, I was nervous about that stack the whole time. Especially when I saw how many points Connor was racking up on my bench. I thought that I was just going to get hosed. But thank goodness for the San Diego Chargers, man. Herbert and Allen were the separators. So big, my stack outdid his stack, basically.
He got it. It's okay. Oh, well, Case, congratulations. 8-1, man. Path to 500 is very clear for you. Don't mess it up.
That's almost like 10 booms.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Good math.
It's not almost like it is like 10 boosts.
Yeah. Unfortunately, what? You have 1, 0? Anyway.
All right, Pete, game number 2. Let's go to game number 2. We got DeLuca and Breen. This was pure domination. The boom of the week, 158, beat up on Breen, 110. That's a 48-point victory. Give us your recap and thoughts on that game, Pete, and congratulations again on the boom. I'll keep saying it to you, buddy.
Thank you. Doing my money dance. It's 158 to 110 win for me. That's 3 in a row over Breen for you, boy. I didn't see the game, but apparently Kevin started the wrong Josh Allen. I guess that was a real mess. His quarterback situation's a mess.
Yep.
The double stack bring back worked wonderfully. Thank you, Ravens and Vikings. Lamar against Brady. Lamar against Miami next week, or Brady off a bye against the football team. Lamar
got?
I know what I would do.
Lamar
I know
against
what I would do.
Miami. Lamar, Miami Thursday night. Brady off a bye against the football team.
Brady. TB.
Brady. I do Brady. I was trying to do TB. I do Brady.
I don't know. Lamar's from Miami.
All right,
And
Lamar.
the last time he played Miami.
Dude, why are you listening to us? You're the only one who booms. Why are you even asking us our opinions?
So I gotta say something.
We'll preview this.
I'm at full strength. Going forward, I only have one guy on a bye. That's AJ Brown on week 13. So I am reloaded and I'm going to go. I mean, I'm not much at predicting things. Last time I predicted something, I lost 4 straight. But if I think I'm going to boom next week. Get ready for it.
Oh,
I've been talking a lot of trash to Christian, even though he doesn't talk back. But I'm feeling good about my team going forward.
Steve, what are the chances Pete booms next week?
I'm really, really nervous that you just said that.
Oh, look at him. Give me some good vibes.
The only reason I just remember when you said that the last time, it was just Jesus. Yeah. I think we saw this coming with Baltimore. We had talked about it last week that Minnesota just has not been very good defensively and was not shocked. The only thing, Pete, one question for you.
Fire.
I think we talked about this. Are you the least bit worried? I know the answer is going to be no because you have Brady, but long-term about Lamar Jackson's usage, having all those rushing attempts inside, getting beaten up. Are you the least bit worried about Lamar Jackson?
About like health-wise making it through the year?
Yeah.
So I do think I do think that he is more likely to get hurt than other quarterbacks. Obviously, he does take a beating. The rushing attempts have been better. I actually like the rushing attempts within the one. My philosophy the whole time has been run him into the ground, go nuts. I've always had a backup quarterback because of that, and this is the best backup quarterback I've ever had. So, just football wise, or as a Ravens fan, I'm like, yeah, he takes a big beat, and I'm not really that excited about it. But as a fantasy owner, I got a backup plan.
It could hurt Hollywood and Andrews. That's the only reason why I asked.
That's true too. I never really thought about that, but yeah, if the Ravens stack were to go down, I would have to rely on the Bucs stack. So that's not really that bad of a thing. So,
All right, Case, what are your thoughts in the game? Pete had a big week, and he actually could have had more. Andrews didn't have a great game. Pitts, as we predicted, was fine. He ended up with 11 points, but didn't do all that much. And a super average game by A.J. Brown and a big win over the Rams, which would be surprising. And then Breen had a big 0. Typically, a 0 would be the lowest point total of the week. But someone
get to that.
Someone had negative points, which we'll get to. Just Case, what's your overall reactions for the week?
usually that would be
I went back and I listened to Thursday's pod, and I said Pete was going to win, but I was critical of his team scoring or having a chance to boom. And I will say this, the players we talked about, we were somewhat accurate in our assessment of. A.J. Brown, Pitts, and Jefferson only had 3 receptions. Now he had one big one for a touchdown, right? So sometimes that's all it takes. I'll grant you that. His other guys showed up. Lamar for 40, Devonta Smith showing up. Those 2 guys scored 70 points between the 2 of them. So give credit where credit's due. Green's team stinks. He's flopping. He might be down in the top 2 picks by the time this is all said and done if those bottom teams can win a couple games. But
so Pete, what does Breen do here? I mean, I said it was a battle, and at the time, it was the number 1 and number 2 quarterback in fantasy last week, Lamar versus Josh Allen. Josh Allen and the Bills were horrendous. Mm-hmm. And if he had started Tyler, I always call him Tyler Mahomes. What's his name?
Patrick
Mahomes. Sorry about that. Patrick Mahomes, it wouldn't have been much better. So now these two assets now are both distressed. And Chubb has COVID, and Henderson didn't do anything. So it is like free fall McGee for Kevin Breen. What do we do here if we're Breening?
Sell. He's done. And that's the thing that's why I was a little bit surprised about DeVito buying, because he's underneath him in the standings. But I actually think that looking at the top 7 that are kind of in it, I think that Breen's the most likely to fall out of it next. So get a jump start on it. Go ahead and sell right now.
If you're going to go to Kevin tomorrow, who do you go get?
Kevin's on the no trade list, so don't worry about it.
But just say your shun gets lifted. What do you do? Who do you go after? This is my problem with Breen's team.
I really like Mike Evans. I've talked to him personally about getting Mike Evans. I would like to pump up that Bucs stack. I tell you guys everything transparently what I'm doing. So I really don't like Gronkowski. I would love to fill it in with Evans. Breen, give me a call if you want to fill that void. Sorry, that was
that didn't get there. It sounded like filling.
If you want to make that happen.
All right. Well, Pete, congratulations again. This is the last time I'm going to say congratulations for the week, but you boomed. 4th time in the year. Welcome to the Fours Club. Is that a club? Fours Club. You and I guess 2 years in a row. We both fours on. So before we get to week 3, to game 3, which was Innocent Spates, this is the text I got Saturday at 1:30. 2 text messages, separated text messages. It said, "I'm gonna murder Spates."
Whoa!
Nice pick. Good call, Jeff. That's the Innis text, Saturday afternoon. All right, well, there we go. Innis had a 40 spot on Thursday night and somehow still lost. Let's hear the recap, Pete. Spates over Innis. Big week for CJ. Big win for Spates. Bad loss for Innis.
It was a 148-124 smacking by Spates. He continues his dominance over Innis, making him 10-1 in the last 5 years.
Whoa.
Difficult. I know, crazy, right? Difficult Sunday for Innis, who watched his fantasy stack, the Cowboys, get destroyed by his favorite team. Good for CJ, though, who lost Rodgers and rolled the dice on an Indy stack. Jeff didn't just show up, but he kind of got out-coached. So props to Spates. I have a hot take, though. Let me know if you guys are aligned with this. Next year, Jonathan Taylor, number 1 overall pick in redraft leagues.
Yeah.
Over McCaffrey, over Henry, number 1 overall.
Definitely
Stays
over
healthy the
Henry.
rest of the year, absolutely.
Definitely over Henry. I think there's still an open question. If McCaffrey comes back the last 6 weeks and goes crazy, McCaffrey could be the one pick. McCaffrey's upside in PPR is so much higher than everybody else's.
It is, but he doesn't play.
I know, but dude, did you hear what I just said?
He's hurt every year, Mike.
know,
So if
but
you're
I'm
talking
just-
about a guy being durable enough to
Hold on.
play,
I'll do this. You're right, Pete. Go ahead, Pete.
I got to say there is some value. Like Lamar Jackson is basically a quarterback and a running back. Okay,
Yeah.
like he plays two spots at once. McCaffrey is that running back wide receiver. It's like having two spots in one. When he's cooking, it's really good.
The point I was making.
He had a quiet week this week and still scored 18 points.
Correct.
Yeah,
the point I was making was if McCaffrey comes back next week, in the next 6 weeks, he scores 30 to 40 points a week, leads people to championships, they'll very quickly forget and remember if he hurt, is he not hurt? He would be the one pick if he can come back and do that again. If he doesn't, if he's pedestrian, if he gets hurt again, then it'll be Taylor. That's what I think.
Anyway,
I also think Taylor's got to stay healthy, Mike, the rest of the way.
Always. Of course.
Because otherwise, if they both get hurt, people go right back to McCaffrey.
Yes, Steve.
I was just going to say that if we were taking a look at now and into next year, personally, if I were in a redraft, I would take Taylor over McCaffrey because of the injury risk.
Yeah.
Today, I agree with you.
Yeah. It's a tough loss for Ennis. He drops down to fourth and barely hanging on to the last spot. And Spates, that was a big win for him. So he's right. He's still in the thick of it. And I got to say something. This is just a weird take. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. When I was looking at the rosters on Sunday and trying to figure out what was going on next week and trying to plan for the pod, CJ Spates was the only one that set his roster a week in advance. Everyone else was making other things. So if anyone thinks that CJ doesn't care about this, CJ cares about it. He's looking weeks in advance. He wants to win. He wants to make moves. So if you have him pegged as a seller, don't.
Who pegged him as a seller though?
I mean, think about it. I didn't have him as a playoff team going into the season, so I don't know.
Way to go, Spates. I want to get Case involved, and Case has to talk about Spates' team because he had a big week. I mean, say what you want to say. He came out of the gates on Thursday night. I heard from him directly. Sources on the inside of the Big Rigs locker room said, "We're going for the Thursday night boom. We need to keep up." He did. And then he ended up having, and the thing I like the most about Spates' team, if you look across all the teams, he's the only guy who didn't have single digits. If just look, 26, 17, 17, 30, 10, 14, 20, 12. It's just solid. And there's no bad weeks, a couple of big weeks, which is what you need to do well. So, Case, what do you think? What congratulatory tone do you have to spell to your buddy Spares? Because he was a wild turkey.
Oh,
yeah. Good response from Spares after last week. Complete team effort. I missed it.
Wild turkey. It's a bowling reference.
Oh. A complete team effort by Spares. You got way over my head. He got points. And honestly, it's a great managerial moves. Getting McCaffrey back was a nice one, but losing Robinson, losing Rodgers, obviously getting Hubbard out of there, just go with straight McCaffrey. Don't try to double that up and find some points elsewhere. And the Renfro thing that we talked about on Thursday, plug and play, and it paid off. We all picked him as our, second half surger, said he was going to win the Super Bowl. You guys are right. The pressure might be getting to him. He might be choking already this early. So good for Spares.
Henry Ruggs curse. The Henry Ruggs curse.
Yeah, we definitely jinxed it. We all picked Innis to win.
Ruggs.
Once we picked Innis
to win, Innis isn't making the playoffs now that we all picked him to win the Super Bowl.
Karma works against you when you have guys like that in your locker room.
Last Tuesday was the worst day for Jeff.
So, Steve, I want to take you in a different direction. I promise I'm not saying this to tease, but the thing that I've noticed about Jeff's team is the bench depth kind of creeped up on him pretty quickly. He had a couple of guys who he plugged in, and now Claypool might be hurt. And so if you're Jeff this week, Jonathan Taylor scores 40, and you get beat by 25 points. Obviously, Dallas' stack didn't come through, but you paid the price of that as well this week when a stack doesn't come through. What do you think Jeff is thinking today? Do you think he has a move on the horizon? Do you think he's a little jealous of your move? His texts make it seem that way, but what do you think Jeff's doing?
No, that he's not jealous. That's not the way that he operates. I think Javonte Williams got to get back in his lineup playing Philadelphia this week. Philadelphia is not very good. He's got to get back in the lineup. But I think what hurt Innis is exactly what you said. It's the stack. It's the Dallas stack that hurt him. And I don't see CeeDee Lamb as a guy that's going to be 2 for 23 every week. And Samuel was hurt. Debo didn't have his big game. He'll be back. He'll be fine. I'm still sticking with him.
Can you imagine him sitting at home watching the Broncos destroy the Cowboys? He must have been.
Well, the only thing he must have been thinking is, okay, so it's 30-0. We'll win the game. Now, I need Prescott to throw 3 touchdowns to Lamb. Let's turn this thing around. And it just didn't work out. I think like Case, like you said, when the Chargers were playing the Patriots, you wanted a high-scoring Patriots win. I thought he was saying, I want a high-scoring Denver win. He had the high score, just not a good comeback here. And the fact that Prescott threw 2 touchdowns at the end of the game to a complete unknown who had caught 0 passes heading into the game had to absolutely kill him watching that.
I gave you a perfect setup to dog on Innis, and you didn't at all. You congratulate.
If you don't know me by now after the amount of time, the length of we've been friends, that's not what I do.
You will never, ever, ever know me.
All right. Well, speaking of high scoring affairs,
that artist.
Speaking of high scoring affairs, I got a phone call Monday morning, and I didn't know the number. It was a random number, and all of a sudden I picked up. I said hello, and I heard, "Hey, Mikey," and I'm like, "Who is this?" I was like, who?" And he goes, "It's Coach Manguso. I heard you wiped the floor with Lloyd this weekend." And I said, "Coach, I had a tough one. I'm worried about the boys." And he goes, "I always knew you were a better motivator than Larkin. Congratulations." And then he hung up. So, hey, call it what it was. A win is a win. Steve Manguso said congratulations to me. Sorry, Lloyd. He always liked me more. Review it.
There's no way that phone call actually took place.
Thanks, Steve.
It did not take place.
You know what did happen? The Steve Manguso kick punch. That did happen.
That probably did happen. All right, let's hear it. Pete, Kaleli, and Larkin. That was a mess.
It was a lame 102-99 victory for Kaleli. The 3-point victory will definitely eat into your 50-point margin of victory you had over him over the last 5 years. Not to pull a Divitto here, but I want to give credit where it's due. Mike lost Saquon earlier in the week. He lost Booker during the game. He lost Edmonds on the first carry. Kyler was ruled out while he was at a birthday party on Sunday morning. It was very impressive by Mike, who kept his roster together and made moves last second. I want everyone to remember this on Thursday when we're talking about whether or not Divitto will be checking his lineup. Casey, you picked Mike to boom, and he finished with his lowest score in the season.
Probably the last 2. I would bet you if you look last year, I didn't get this. This is probably my worst score in the last 2 seasons.
So Casey picked you to boom, but you finished so low. I'd call that pulling a Brian Casey, but everyone knows that pulling a Brian Casey is when you blow a perfect season in the first round of the playoffs. Oh. Mike, great win. Hope everything goes well.
Thanks, Pete.
No offense.
All right. Divitto, let's bring you in.
The title.
Let's bring you into it. That was a mess of a game. So I think I'm sure Lloyd's thinking the same thing as me. That's like, well, he traded away 2 of his bucks. What would you be thinking if you were the 2 of us after that mess of a game?
Well, if I'm Lloyd, I'm thinking I got to make some type of big trade. I'd probably call Steve Divitto and make an offer to him, and see where it goes from there. But yeah, Mike, that was wow. I mean, you said it perfectly. This is not going well. That was, but hey, the big trade you make last week is the difference in this game.
Yeah.
That trade you make for Robert Woods in order to get him on your team, those 20 points is the difference maker. That catch that he makes at the end of the game gets you over the top, and you survive in advance, get your way into yourself there alone in second place. So congratulations to you.
Thanks. Case, I woke up to your text message. I wasn't watching the game. I didn't watch a second of football this weekend, so I don't have much insights from the games themselves. I was at a birthday party I went to, by the way. It was my godson's turn 2.
I take back everything I said.
They had a pizza truck. No, I was checking, but I didn't watch anything. They had a pizza truck. You can make your own pizza in the pizza truck.
Terrific.
So who cares?
Oh.
Hey, Mike,
what?
The fact that your team has been in, do you think that Dalvin Cook,
party of the year?
Dalvin Cook, are you worried about the physical and emotional toll that this latest thing is going to take on him?
Hey, yeah, I wanted to follow up with that. He's actually, I just got an alert. He's in a lot of trouble. He's gotten an assault case against his girlfriend.
Yeah, I saw
No,
that.
no, no, no.
Against
So-
him and
Assaulted
his
him.
girlfriend, Pete.
What is it?
It's against him and his girlfriend. Some
Alleges
Intruder-
assault, emotional abuse stemming from 2020 altercation. Mike, he's in trouble. You all right with
Dude,
that?
I played the entire season without my starting
So-
running backs. I had Madison on the
Cooks-
bench. I guess I'll play him if he gets sit out.
Cook is accused of holding her hostage with a firearm.
Whoa, Mike.
And is
That's not good.
Fire up Madison.
I got him on my bench.
Fire him
also
up.
this news comes out hours after Schefter reports that Cook himself was the victim of domestic
I saw.
abuse and
I saw that.
extortion.
I saw that too.
Right, but now he's being accused of holding a 29-year-old. The name is in here, of holding her hostage with a firearm.
It's too real. It's too
Doesn't
real.
look good, Mike. It doesn't look good.
If he's out, I'll play Madison. I can't. We're not talking about this on the pod, guys. Who has an opinion about Rodgers and vaccinations next?
This is your Henry Ruggs. This is your Henry Ruggs. You're done.
I'm not opining on an upcoming sexual assault case on one of my fantasy football players. Kate, go ahead.
No, Mike, I will say this. Do you regret the Jordan Love gamble with guys like Kirk Cousins available on the waiver wire, like the desperation
No.
to play a stack?
The only thing I regret was that I didn't just pick up the backup quarterback for Arizona, because I would have, if Kyler was going to play, I would have rather
Colt
played
McCoy?
Kyler over Cousins. So no, I was kind of handcuffed because Kyler wasn't ruled out until after the 1 o'clock kickoff.
You picked up a guy to play who has no track record of playing a game in the NFL.
I know, but do you hear what I just said though? I'm saying I was going to pick, I needed a late game guy because
Okay.
Kyler was still questionable till like 2 o'clock on Sunday.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you didn't have the proper information to make some of your decisions because our injury report last week was so terrible from DeVitto?
No,
Go back and listen to it.
Nope.
There's a lot of miscommunication going on last week.
unlike you, I take full responsibility for the decisions that I make, and I don't blame
Everything
other people.
personal.
And it's-
Just
I
because
only
just
do
because-
it. I only do it to stick it to him when he's wrong. Otherwise, I don't
Just
listen
because
to you.
when I said that DeAndre Hopkins was likely to practice Friday and he ended up not practicing, case is hurt.
So can I just say one quick thing about my
Come
team?
back.
So, we're not going to talk about Lloyd. Lloyd, it's been a good season. Welcome first year. I'm glad I played you this week because I would have lost everybody else. Jordan Love stunk. Whatever. Devonta Adams had 16 targets, and he somehow turned 16 targets into what? 12 points.
a lot of bad thrown balls.
Brandon Cooks had 15 targets. I don't understand what's going on with Kansas City. Why did they keep running jet sweeps with McCole Hardman? The dude stinks. Give the ball to Tyreek Hill.
Have you
Chase
watched
Edmonds-
Patrick Mahomes?
That's the game
But
plan, Mike. They
don't-
shut down Hill, though.
No, but then let Hill get the jet sweeps, little toss pass. Why are you giving the ball to Hardman? He can't do that. Let me keep going. I'm venting at the second. Chase Edmonds got hurt the first play of the game.
Very first play.
The first play of the game. And then James Conner's in the whole game. Eno Benjamin ends up doing whatever he does. Wait a second, Steve.
Oh, Benjamin.
And then the silliest thing, Booker. I'm checking my phone. My God, Booker's having a good game. You know we have boom bonuses, right? If you get to 100 yards. You know how many yards Devontae Booker got?
No.
99.
99.
That's funny. Yeah, you get a half a touchdown if you hit
Yeah.
100, right?
God
Yeah.
bless Christian Dadarian. Thanks for Robert Woods, buddy. Just so you guys know, never in question. I knew I was winning all weekend.
Looked ugly there
Yes,
for a
Steve.
while.
Yes, Steve.
Who was the last catch that won it?
Woods.
Oh,
Did
that's
you
fantastic.
hold Lloyd against his will with a firearm? Is that how you got this victory?
Whoa, too soon, Steve, too soon.
Pete, I only knew that Robert Woods had the securing catch room because I was up nervous as heck watching the Stafford Cup matchup. I didn't sleep at all that night.
I
know.
didn't watch it Sunday afternoon, Pete. I finished season 1 of Succession, my wife and I really jammed through it. A
You
plus.
like
show.
it? You like
we-
it?
I like it. Love it.
I hated it. Other
It was
two,
weird. How
Hilarious.
long did you last? We
4
did it.
episodes.
This was like the 4th time we've gone through it, and we were like, let's just do it. And so
Oh,
we just
see,
did it.
watched like 4 episodes and bailed.
It's
But
one of those. We stuck with it. So way to go. So Lloyd, thanks for the victory, buddy. I really needed that. Last game of the week, guys. It was another one. Dadarian and Divitto. Almost congratulations, Breen. 0 spot for the week. Divitto cost himself this week. Thankfully, Brandy, if he had an empty spot in his roster, he still would have lost. Christian Andy, let's hear the recap, Pete. Another totally ugly one.
it was a 110-106 win for Christian. He wins his 3rd straight over Andy. Congratulations. Christian barely beat Andy. And Andy started a guy who scored negative points. So my team is gonna run by what's his team name?
Who?
Christian.
Killer Bees.
It doesn't matter what his team name is. It's time for Christian to go 1-on-1 with the great one, the most electrifying team in this league. I'm going to turn that jabroni sideways. I'm going to drive straight up to the Know Your Role Boulevard. I'm going to check him directly into the SmackDown Hotel. He might have won 2 in a row, but this isn't 2001. I'll save my pick for later in the week, but I am feeling good.
You messed up the punchline.
Which one?
You said, what's his name again? And you knew we were about to say Killer Bees and you didn't cut us off. We all cut it up.
It doesn't matter what his name is. I was trying to think of it.
Pete, follow-up question.
Yeah.
Are you confident against Christian this week?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, Case, let's go to you next. This was an ugly one. A great Thursday night for Divitto. And he somehow still can't muster himself to a victory. And he did it against the Mustard Boy, who also didn't look all that well. These are 2 teams in the basement. What do you have to say for it?
We asked the question on Thursday, what's more or less valuable than Jalen Reagor healthy? It's Jalen Reagor hurt, and he actually cost you points. Never mind, just put up a 0. So minus 0.5, just terrible. I mean, what do you want me to say? What do you want to analyze here? Like 2 bad teams.
That's an ugly one.
Yeah, like, I mean, the only thing about Christian is like, you know, he did sell off one piece, but is he like setting himself up to keep what he has? Like, does he have another move in him? Like, Andy isn't moving anybody. Like, talked to him for a long time yesterday. I actually offered him Derrick Henry, and he just doesn't. He's like, he has no value to me this year. I'm like, no value to you this year. Are you even playing this year? Like, why wouldn't you have him for next year then?
You fell into the game right there. You fell into
Yeah, you're right, Pete, because then there was a lot of insults that came after that.
Yeah.
Some choice words that aren't appropriate for the podcast.
You fell right into the game.
That's why I stopped and say, "Hey, man, it's good to hear from you."
Pete warned us about this. This is how he operates.
Andy, Divitto, Breen, Lloyd, no trade lists. I'll talk to you next year. Yeah,
so
I know.
Fun fact about Andy Divitto. Andy Divitto and I, for some reason, in high school, like had the exact same schedule, like 2 years in a row. And we were in the same gym class, junior and senior year. The 2 of us in team events never lost a match, undefeated for 2 years. Fun fact for the pod fans out there.
I've heard. Lloyd's got, Darian's got me and then Breen next. Should probably think about selling.
Never say never. Breen. So I will say he is, again, if you really look at the season, we do have a lot of weeks left. And so if the Darian thinks he's got a chance, what's the number we think we have to get to? 9?
9 and 6.
8 or 9. Yeah.
So 8 or 9.
As soon as you lose 7, you're done. That's basically it.
And what is that? Is that 8 and 7? That's the number you're saying?
Yeah, 8 and 7.
So he's got 1 more loss in him. So if he gets beat this week the way DeLuca is clamoring to beat him,
you count as 2 losses after I'm done with this one.
You'd say he's done. Steve, do you agree with that sentiment, or do you think because the league is so, what's it called when it's really connected, close, truncated? Condensed. Because the league is so condensed, do you think that means the number could be 8? That we could have an 8-loss team that sneaks into the playoffs?
Did you say condensed or condensed?
Condensed.
Funky.
Okay.
He's all over the place tonight.
What's condensed?
That's what I thought you were saying.
I have an excellent vocabulary.
That's exactly what it sounded like.
I have an excellent vocabulary. Steve, what are your thoughts?
Goulash.
You don't have to say anything if you don't have any thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree. I think he's got to make a move, but the bigger question is, will he make a move?
Nope.
And he's never been one to do that. I mean, could I see him trying to? I agree. I think he needs to. I just don't think he's going to move anyone outside of Melvin Gordon, who I think he's offered to everyone in the league.
If Mustard Boy was going for it, and just say like he was waiting for Montgomery to come back, maybe that was sort of his thing. Like, I get competitive, my guys show up in Montgomery today. Why would he trade Woods last week? Like, I think he was going to trade one guy. He's going to keep the guys that he wants to have on next year's roster, which probably Montgomery and Kamara and some of those guys. Like, I think he's just riding it out.
I do think
You're right.
That yawn personifies what I think of this game.
Yeah. All right.
These are two guys that should make
All right.
bigger moves. Christian has said he's interested in making some bigger moves, but I don't know if he does at the end.
Nope.
Nope.
That's what I think of that. Nope.
And
In case interesting point.
back to Andy's team though, just quickly here. Jalen Reagor, we talked about this 100 times. Why is Josh Gordon still there?
I mean, the kid's just clearly not making sense.
I don't know. You guys keep analyzing Divitto's roster like anybody has a clue. I don't know. Do you know? I don't know.
He bid $30 on it. He bid $30 on him because Pete's on the podcast. Who's going to be the guy that picks him up?
Now watch. Ask me any question, Steve. Ask me any question about Divitto's logic for anybody on his team. Ready? I don't know.
Divitto, that was your chance to read a roster.
I have a question for you guys, so we
Yeah,
don't have
Pete.
to listen to DeVito read things. Seeing as we've made it this far in the podcast, if anyone's going to listen this far, they should be entitled to some special information. What do you think? We talk about waivers all the time. What do you think the number one waiver ad is? Dearness Johnson. What do you think he's going for?
Wait, he's not on someone's roster?
No, he's a number one waiver ad, and he's available right now.
I
And
dropped him.
Chubb has COVID, and he might be a RB1 going into the week.
But Chubb's vaccinated. I don't.
Yeah, Chubb may play.
Even
Yeah.
if you're vaccinated, you miss the entire week of practice.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
didn't Chubb
something-
Chubb miss the last like 4 weeks of practice because he was hurt? Yeah. I don't think a
He'll
ton.
be-
He'll play.
Peter, it would be a good gamble because when he did get RB1 touches, he produced. So it's a good gamble.
So I'll let you guys in on a little secret. I'm going to drop $100 on him tonight.
Whoa, no, you're not.
So I think he's going to be an RB1. I want to block Breen from getting him. And the only way that would happen is if I drop $100 because my waiver priority is higher than him. So sorry,
You think he's
Breen.
gonna-
I'm going to pull another Mike Kaleli, Daniel Jones move on you, and I'm going to block this one from you.
I didn't do that.
Pete, you think he's going to be an RB1 against the Patriots this week?
So I think that if Chubb goes down, he has a good chance of being. I'm not going to start him, but I don't want Breen to start him. And I also think that going forward, if Chubb was to sprain an ankle or actually be missed time due to COVID or whatever, this is a very year that's pretty crazy. If anything happens, I think Johnson's going to be a number one player going forward, and I don't have anything to spend this money on.
I did actually. Now that I didn't think I did, Pete. I had a waiver claim in on Johnson.
Yeah, so you guys can cancel them all. I'm putting in 100 for. I'm
It
putting in
wasn't
100.
$100. It wasn't $100.
I'm putting in 100, and no one can beat me for it. So
No,
I'm
I
gonna-
like to keep him. I like to keep even if I don't think I'm going to get a guy, I like to see like where I fell in the lottery. It's like a fun way to wake up on Wednesday morning. I check my email, see what I didn't get.
I got 2 more moves I got to make after that too. So I'm going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm going to make sure my waiver went through, and I'm going to add 2 more guys right then. I have my alarm set.
Who are the other two guys?
They're league winners. That's basically what I'm putting it at. Is that if a couple things fall right, they could be big league winners. I'm at a point now where I built my roster around like projects like Laviska Shenault, Kyle Pitts, guys that I was waiting to pop all year. They've done pretty well. I can move them up into like the startable category. And so I think that I have spots in my roster to block other people, which I'm going to do, which I did last week with Daniel Jones, which I'm going to do this week with Young, and I'm going to do next week with whoever. And that's the game plan going forward. I want to say something to all the fantasy people out here because no one's paying attention to this league enough. I'm the only one paying attention to all of you guys. You cannot win the championship by yourself. Okay. I'll tell you right now, you cannot win the championship by yourself. You need to trade assets to other teams who are going to beat teams for you. I have tried to trade assets to Andy Divitto, hand them to him so that he could go beat teams so that I can get an advantage going forward. That is the way you win fantasy. If you're stacked and you're going to walk away to the end, great. It's very rare. But you need to work with other managers to make things happen. And that's what I'm trying to do. No one's willing to do trades with me for some reason, even though I'm giving them all of, I've never made an offer that I wouldn't accept myself. So if you guys aren't going to do trades with me, I'm going to do things like that and block Breen, block Kaleli, and I'm going to play defense that way. So it's in everyone's best interest to do a trade with me.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
You're awesome, man.
Thank
You're
you,
awesome.
buddy. Thank you, buddy. That's
You're
how you
so-
get. That's how
you're
you get
so
championships, Casey. That's how you
You're
get
so
championships.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're so awesome.
Someday.
All right, I got nothing to top that. Good boom, Pete. Good synopsis.
Well, if you listen this long, you'll know all my plans.
How many, Pete, how many mirrors do you have in your house?
I don't have any in this room, which I really it's a really
Surprising.
His
Surprising.
wife's just listening to him, and she's gonna tell him all of his best points when she gets upstairs. Don't worry, it's all right.
I'm not really vain in looks. It's more intelligence.
Steve, any analysis on that?
Dynamite.
Steve, you think I'm handsome and intelligent, so let's go with it.
Wow.
All right,
All right.
it's been too long.
That's
Podcast
it.
has gone too long.
All right. Thankfully, we are now driving down 140. We're heading to Bellingham. We're exiting Milford, folks. I'm Mike, for Pete, for Steve, for Case. We'll see you all on Thursday night. I'm sure Pete will walk in with some sort of tuxedo.
You think I'm picking?
Bye, everyone.